got released in fall 2020, Jujutsu Kaisen had the perfect answer to the question, what makes a good shonen anime? You got that gradually increasing tension, amazingly choreographed fight scenes, and a cast of characters who can grip your attention. Today, we're going to speak about one of the aspects which made the series so great, the fight scenes. Without waiting, let's dive into 10 of the best fights in Jujutsu Kaisen. Number 10, Panda vs. Mekamaru. The fight to take the 10th position on our list is by two rather peculiar characters. A panda ripped off from Kung Fu Panda and the Jujutsu Kaisen version of Iron Man. The second core of the series granted us a mini battle royale between Jujutsu sorcerers. Through each battle, we got to see both the backstories and fight moves of these characters. Both Panda and Mekamaru had similar pasts, but the difference was that one didn't blame others for the way he was born. The other lived a life in regret by blaming the world. Apart from establishing two character arcs, the fight also shined the spotlight on these two characters and gave us an animal versus robot fight you usually never see in anime. Number 9, Nobara vs. Momo. Moving along the mini battle royale, next up, we've got a fight between our favorite femme fatale and a flying witch on a broomstick. There isn't much backstory moving around in this fight, especially since Nobara isn't one to speak too much during a fight. And that is the exact reason why this fight is great. Instead of diving into long backstories, flashbacks, and all sorts of lamentations, Nobara brings down the flying witch and almost finishes her off with a squeaky hammer to the face. And I'm saying almost because a bullet stopped her from landing the final hit. So the lesson at the end of the day is to never quote feminism around Nobara. Number 8, Maki vs. Miya. Perhaps putting one of the strongest female Jujutsu sorcerers with a character who lacks self-confidence is not the best choice. Miya showed some of her sword fighting skills during the fight, but that's clearly not enough to stop Maki from kicking her ass. If you ignore the characters pitted and focus on the fighting techniques and fight moves, you'll find a well-choreographed fight scene complemented by the fluid animation. The fight ended with Miya's defeat as expected, but Maki was also cruel enough to steal her sword. At the end of the fight, Miya lost both her confidence and her sword. Number 7, Gojo vs. Tsukunai. Tsukunai may have made a good character introduction by looking badass, but Gojo made an even better entrance by sitting on top of the so-called badass. This scene hinted to us who the overpowered character of the series would be, and showed Gojo was more than just a masked Kakashi. Tsukunai was introduced in an intimidating way, and the descriptions Megumi gave only made us more fearful of him. But then comes Gojo. The fight scene is much shorter than many others on the list, but what matters was how it clearly established the character's power levels and placed Gojo on top of it. Just imagine, if this was Gojo fighting after finishing a shopping trip, how do you think he would fight during a real battle? Don't worry, you'll soon find out. Number 6, Yuji and Hanami vs. Mojito. Yuji's rage gave Mojito several punches, but that punching went to a whole new level when he teamed up with his newfound sensei. Before joining forces, both of them managed to do pretty well against Mojito while fighting alone, so when they combined forces, victory was assured. This fight also combined many small moments, like Tsukunai being prideful and Hanami losing his will to live. These are what made the fight scene and the characters more special. Mojito may have wiggled his way out of this one, but let's hope these two would teach him a lesson on a round 2. Number 5. Yuji and Nobara vs. Eso and Kechizuru.
It's not right or wrong.
Jujutsu Kaisen never fails in delivering fights that are both epic and emotional, and this is proof of it. Even though the finishing move was done by Yuji, the credits of doing most of the work should go to Nobara. After several episodes, her straw doll technique finally came in handy, and her poison resistance skills were absolutely badass. Let's also not forget the amazing teamwork of Yuji and Nobara and their finishing Black Flash technique. Jujutsu Kaisen has a way of writing overpowered characters without stepping into the usual cliches, and when you drop these characters into a fight scene, you can be sure to expect one hell of a massacre. The death of Eso was a bit of a tearjerker, as it showed us curses also have emotions, but Yuji had to do what he had to do, and he did it in the most badass way possible. Number 4. Gojo vs. Jojo. Both may have similar sounding names, but there seems to be a drastic power difference between the two of them. In the later arcs of the anime, we saw how other curses acknowledged the power of Gojo and were even afraid to fight him. But Jojo seemed to be lacking in the brains department. No person in their right mind would willingly attack Gojo, but Jojo went ahead and did it and fled with only his head remaining. All of this could have been resolved quickly if Jojo had only admitted Gojo was powerful. Usually, when someone brags about their power, you can call him or her stupid. But when an anime character boasts that he could even destroy everyone if he wants, it's time to take him seriously, especially if his hair is white. Number 3. Maki vs. Mai. The Maki vs. Miwa fight may have lacked backstory, but the battle between these two sisters had plenty of raw emotion stacked in it. We finally understood why Mai had such a cocky attitude and why Maki was serious all the time. This sibling fight seemed to have a long history to it, and the two also didn't finish the fight with a successful conclusion. It's also great to see how Jujutsu Kaisen gives some significant development to its female characters. In most shonen anime, the female characters come as bland and boring, but in Jujutsu Kaisen, they all have a backstory and relatable motivations and goals. So when you pit two such characters together, you know the fight will exceed your expectations.
Got you.
Number 2. Megumi vs. Fingerbearer. You thought Yuji would be the one to surpass Gojo? Turns out we have another close competitor. As I mentioned before, the first season's last arc made sure the spotlight shined on Megumi. Along the way, we also got to see a darker side of his personality. Turns out, Megumi wasn't using his full strength in his fight with Tsukunai. This time he unleashed his inner self-motivation and brought out the devil inside of him. Unleashing his own powerful domain expansion, he attacked the Fingerbearer with all he had and sent the curse to oblivion. So while Yuji and Nobara were busy punching curses, Megumi was busy being a badass. Number 1. Toto and Yuji vs. Hanami. Who knew having a similar taste in women could help you do well against a special grade curse? From the moment he was introduced, Toto seemed to be the one with less brain power and more physical skills, but he truly shined during his fight with Hanami. Not only did Toto manage to gain the upper hand in the fight, but he also guided Yuji and gave him some fighting tips as a senior. Hanami soon found out she was overpowered by the duo. They were using Toto's boogie woogie technique to swap places and confuse her. Guess what? Toto has both the brains and the muscle. He may randomly act like a 4-year-old when speaking about women, but put him in a fight, and that's when he'll show his true colors. So there goes our picks for 10 of the best Jujutsu Kaisen fight scenes. If we missed anything, don't hesitate to mention it below in the comments. As usual, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell notification so you can be updated as soon as we release a new video. Stay safe, anime fans, and I'll see you in the next video.